Let's do a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions, everybody. A little scare. Deandre Swift, who all of a sudden is the franchise, missed practice today. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Locked On Lions, Locked On Podcast Network on a Wednesday, September 14th, and a Thursday, September 15th. Matt Dery with you. Thank you for watching, and thanks for making us your first listen. If you're listening right here on Locked On Lions, your first listen each and every day. You can watch us on YouTube now, and also, of course, follow us on Twitter at Dery Speaks, D-E-R-Y Speaks, at Locked On Lions on Twitter. Check us out on the Matt Dery Facebook fan page, and again, on YouTube. Locked On Lions today on a Wednesday, brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Coming up on the show tonight, a Wednesday evening edition of the podcast, the franchise, the guy that everybody's leaning on right now to say, maybe this is the best player on the team. One game into the season, one, is hurt. But thank goodness he's okay. We'll explain coming up momentarily on the show. Also, Dan Campbell had an interesting comment today about finishing games, and I think it's a good one. And I want to share that coming up momentarily as well. A couple of matchups I think the Lions own in this game. One of the reasons why I think they're going to win this football game. I'll explain that coming up. And also some updated odds from our friends at BetOnline. Dan Campbell and Jared Goff remain on a list. We'll explain that coming up as well here on the program. We appreciate you tuning in. Tomorrow, David Harrison, Locked On Commanders co-host, will join us for the Thursday crossover brought to you by Prize Picks. We'll talk to David about matchups, what he thinks of this game, etc. He's been all over the Commanders. The 1-0 Commandos taking on your 0-1 Detroit Lions. All right, so the beat writers were out there earlier today. The Lions are practicing, and everybody starts tweeting out, where's Deandre Swift? Why is Deandre Swift not at practice? And so it's like this giant mystery for a few hours. Turns out Deandre Swift has an ankle injury. He rolled his ankle in the fourth quarter. Dave Burkett and the rest of the writers, and Dave, I'm quoting some things from Dave's article in the Freep and at Freep.com. They've caught up with Deandre toward the end of practice today, and he downplayed the ankle injury. Swift said he's fine. Asked if it was possible that he wouldn't play as many snaps this week. He said not at all. Of course, last week, 15 carries, 3 passes, three catches for 31 yards. Deandre Swift is just fine. And you looked at last week and you saw a career high in rushing yards with 141 yards. The catches out of the backfield and breaking off a 30-yarder on that swing pass down the left sideline. And you start to think about what the Lions offense could be and how this football team can get better if they've got a go-to guy. Now, look, DJ Chark is pretty good, all right, but I wouldn't call him a speed burner. Josh Reynolds, same thing. Gets open, sneaky, slithery, all the snake references that Dan Campbell puts out there. Amon-Ra St. Brown's as good as there is in the slot, and for a second-year receiver, he's really coming on. But the Lions are still a little bit slow on offense, except when Deandre Swift touches the football. There's a speed factor there. There's a burst. There's a home run hitting threat. And I think the Lions offense without Swift is slow. I do. Jared Goff doesn't move around that well. This is not like Jalen Hurts or anything like that. Not that every quarterback has to be like Jalen Hurts, but you get my point. We're 1 week into the season, and people are starting to talk about Deandre Swift the way they were talking about him before fantasy drafts. Do we take him in the first round? Is he going to be this good? Is this the breakout year? Is what Deuce Staley said to him during Hard Knocks going to register and pay off? I mean, earlier today, my phone blew up with people asking me about Swift's ankle and what I know. And I really had no inside information. It sounds like he did not practice today. He says he's fine and he's going to play, that he just rolled it in the fourth quarter. But man, it's almost like we're leaning on, or the Lions are leaning on, DeAndre Swift to just be the guy. But the question I have for the Lions coaching staff is, will you allow it? Jamison Williams is going to be the home run hitter, but he's not here until November. And who knows how effective a rookie wide receiver is going to be, right? But are they going to let Deandre Swift cook? I know there was the bit last year in Seattle, let Russ cook with Russell Wilson. But DeAndre Swift, I almost said DeAndre Cook. DeAndre Swift needs to touch the ball more than 15 times in the ground game, and he needs to catch more than 3 passes in the passing game. And Washington, and this kind of goes to my second point today, their linebackers, Davis and some others, are not great against the pass. If you watch Jacksonville and Washington, go back and watch it. NFL Network, they re-show all these games. Go DVR it. Jacksonville moved the football on Washington. They got James Robinson out in space, both in the ground game and in the passing game. The Lions can take advantage of this. This is a really good matchup. Last week, I told you. I said all week, I don't like this matchup for the Lions. I think they're in trouble. RPO, running quarterback, designed runs, backyard football, not a good matchup for Detroit's linebackers. And I proved to be right. I was hoping I was wrong. I wanted the Lions to win. And Detroit only lost by 3. They fought, but they got dominated. They couldn't stop Philly. Now I think it's up to Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, everybody, to get DeAndre Swift out in space this week and put up some points. And I think they can do that. I truly believe that. So there's some good matchups this week. But boy, the hype surrounding DeAndre Swift right now is pretty remarkable. People were worried today when he missed practice. But again, afterwards, he just said, no, not at all. I'm fine. I should be fine. And he'll be out there Sunday against Washington. And we're not calling this a must-win game. 0-2 is not a death sentence. But look up the numbers. I mean, teams that start off 0-2 don't usually make the playoffs. And you got to go to Minnesota next week and play the Vikings. They need this game. They need this game. And I'm not scared of Carson Wentz. I think Washington's improved. I think their defense has holes. The injuries to their defensive linemen now. Allen is hurt, and he's a little bit banged up along their Jonathan Allen along their D line. The second round pick from Bama, the D tackle, he's out. So they've got some problems, and I think the Lions can take advantage of that. As far as the rest of the injury report for today, Swift again missed practice with the ankle. Michael Brockers with the knee injury missed practice today. He was really a non-factor last week. Hopefully he can get healthy and perform because the Lions need him. Taylor Decker, sore calf, did not practice today. Tommy Kramer remains out with a bad back. Of course, he missed a week 1. He didn't practice today. And Frank Ragnow, I think they're just being really careful with that groin injury. And they also said a foot injury as well. Did not practice today. Limited in practice, Jonah Jackson with a finger. Ifeatu Melifonwu, who didn't play in the opener, hamstring limited. And Julian Okwara also did not play in game 1. Hamstring was a full practice today. So it'd be nice to see the Lions get Julian Okwara out there and get him some reps defensively this weekend. All right, Dan Campbell had an interesting comment today that I want to touch on. We'll do that coming up next. As you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. It's easy to create a free job posting on LinkedIn. It's awesome. And we can help you right here with Locked On. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job in the purple hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's great. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Matt Dery with you, Locked On Lions, Locked On Podcast Network. We broadcast here on the road at parts unknown. So welcome back to the program. I saw something today that I wanted to touch on, and I want to get more into the matchups and everything else momentarily. But I saw something today that Dan Campbell said They asked him about moral victories, and he was asked about, you were right there with Philadelphia, who many people now think could end up being a number one seed possibility in the NFC. I'm not ready to go that far, but after I see Washington this week, and look, I know the Giants had a great win last weekend over the Titans on the road, but I still don't think that Giant team is very good. And Dallas is a dumpster fire. God bless Cooper Rush, the pride of Central Michigan, fire up chips, but that thing's off the rails in Dallas. Amari Cooper's gone. Michael Gallup, they're not sure is going to play. Zeke's toast. And now Cooper Rush for 6 weeks. Good luck. But Dan Campbell was asked about kind of, being right there. And he said today, quote, getting close doesn't count. We've got to close these games out, end quote. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. We've said this for weeks, and it continues to rear its ugly head. We understand. It's a rebuild. I, for one, as the host of this podcast, am not predicting that this Detroit Lions team is going to the playoffs. But you look up and you say the NFC is weak, right? There's opportunity there. And a 9-8 team likely could end up being that third wild card. And that's pathetic. Really, when you think about it, 9-8 is right on the cusp of mediocre. So being close is unacceptable again. And this is the standard that Dan Campbell, his staff, the coaches, the front office has set. No one's talking about winning every game. No one's talking about going 17-0. No one's saying that this organization is going to become New England or Green Bay by any stretch. But I think after last week, we saw a lot of the same things that we saw last year. Now, we saw better talent on the field. Yes. Malcolm Rodriguez, a healthy Deandre Swift, depth along the offensive line. Receivers were better. Chark caught a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown caught a touchdown. When last year in any game do we recall a couple of different receivers catching touchdowns, right? Tracy Walker, when he was on the field, was not that bad. I know I pick on him a little bit and call him Lions good, etc. I think the secondary is better. I think there's some more depth there. Mike Hughes is an upgrade over A.J. Parker. Deshaun Elliott is an upgrade over Will Harris. That type of thing. There's still holes. But you got to win the games. You got to, when it's 3rd and 1 and the crowd's going nuts, you got 60,000 fans there, and Miles Sanders is handed the football, and there's 10 guys on the line of scrimmage for the Lions to make the tackle, and Barnes and Anzalone gains media's Alex Anzalone. You've got to make that play. And boy, on my Twitter feed yesterday, I don't know what it was about yesterday, but people were just jumping all over Alex Anzalone, just destroying the poor guy. He's not a very good player. I get it. The Lions need to upgrade a linebacker. We all get that. And PFF always seems to ding Anzalone. But the Lions seem to like him. He's a captain. You just wonder how many snaps he's going to continue to play as the season goes on. But I like what Dan Campbell had to say. He's not saying moral victory. He's not talking about close. He's saying we got to finish these games. And I think this is going to be another close game on Sunday. You're facing Carson freaking Wentz. If Carson Wentz were really good, wouldn't he still be in Philadelphia and not run out of town like he was there? They couldn't wait to get rid of him. What about last year in Indianapolis? The Colts, who've been looking for a quarterback since Andrew Luck, they've gone through Jacoby Brissett, the ghost of Phillip Rivers. Wentz last year, they brought him in, gave him a giant contract. And he lasted 1 year with the coach that he worked with in Philly and Frank Reich, who wanted him. Jim Irsay, the owner of the Colts, kicked him to the curb. And he's going to come in and throw 4 touchdowns again like he did last week? I don't see it. I think Aiden Hutchinson, Charles Harris, Austin Bryant, that group's going to get to him. I think he's going to be a little rattled this week. Now, the matchup I'm worried about is Antonio Gibson out of the backfield. We saw last week Sanders, Scott, some of these guys getting a little slippery. Gibson, who can catch the football in space, make plays, kind of a jack of all trades type. He's kind of a J.D. McKissick, but not a better. And McKissick's still on the Commanders, by the way. Oh, by the way, the Martin Mayhew Bowl is this Sunday. Martin's the GM of Washington. He doesn't have the power that he had when he was here, but shout out to Martin Mayhew, former Lion general manager. But watch Gibson this week. The Lions have got to wrap him up. All right, some interesting Vegas odds that I want to get to coming up next from our friends at BetOnline. And we want to tell you about betonline.net, your number one source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports info this season. Find all the latest football, league developments, game matchups, news, and podcasts, including this year's opening week games. BetOnline is also your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf, is at BetOnline. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline is where the game starts. Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday in the Motor City. Our friends at betonline.net put out for this week their latest updated odds on the next NFL coach to be fired or resign, and also the first quarterback to be benched, non-injury related. Remember, these odds were out earlier in the year, and Jared Goff was about 7th or 8th on the quarterback list, and Dan Campbell, which I thought was a mistake, was about 7th or 8th on the coaching list. Right now, the next NFL coach to be fired or resign, according to BetOnline's latest odds, is Mike McCarthy of the Cowboys at 7-2, followed by Matt Rule at 15-4, Cliff Kingsbury, bad start for Arizona last week, 5-1, Frank Reich 9-1, Mike Vrabel 9-1, Robert Saleh 10-1, Arthur Smith tied with Dan Campbell at 14-1. So Dan comes in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, tied for 7th again. I still don't get it. I don't understand why Dan Campbell is ahead of the likes of Ron Rivera, where Washington always makes weird decisions. Lovie Smith, I know Houston tied last week. Kevin Stefanski, a lot of pressure in Cleveland on him, etc. So Dan Campbell comes in at 14-1. Folks, we all know these odds. They're going to change. But I don't, even if the Lions somehow start 0-3, Dan Campbell's not going anywhere. He's beloved in Allen Park. They're going to build a statue of him at 222 Rod Wood Drive. All right, as far as first quarterback to be benched, non-injury related, Jared Goff moved down in the standings here from a week ago. Mitch Trubisky comes in at 2-1. Didn't Pittsburgh just win last week? Wow. Mitch Trubisky 2-1 leads in this horse race. Trey Lance is second at 9-2. That's the bet I would make. He did not look good against Chicago, and Jimmy G's waiting. Ryan Tannehill 5-1. Maybe it's Malik Willis time in Tennessee. I know my buddy Al, who is a big listener, would love that, to see Malik get some run. Marcus Mariota 6-1. Geno Smith 15-2. Again, played really well last week. Baker Mayfield 9-1. Daniel Jones 9-1. Davis Mills 9-1. And then Jared Goff coming in at 14-1. So he is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ninth place on this list, tied with Justin Fields of the Bears. Did anybody see Mike Martz was trashing Justin Fields? Didn't the Bears win that? Justin Fields had played a great game, but the rain, was raining in that situation in Chicago. Carson Wentz, by the way, comes in at 20-1. Jared Goff's not going to get benched because the Lions don't have anything behind him. You honestly think that Nate Sudfeld's going to take, let's say Jared Goff has a poor performance in the first half, Sunday against Washington. You honestly think they're going to put Nate Sudfeld in? The only way Jared Goff is getting benched is if he gets hurt. And that's on that list. It was non-injury related. I don't see that happening. What I see this week is a Goff to Swift and Goff to Hawkinson situation that's going to work for Detroit. I think the Washington linebackers have issues covering people, and I think that's where the Lions can exploit things. Did Jared Goff have a great game last week? No, he didn't. But I think that he'll play better this week. I do. And we're talking about a Washington team that is very banged up along the D-line and no Chase Young. Chase Young is one of the top young pass rushers in the game. And he's still coming back from that knee injury from last year. And, man, having an opportunity to face Washington now and not in a few weeks when Young is back is a big break for the Lions. Very big break. So we'll have to wait and see on that. All right, crossover Thursday tomorrow with David Harrison, the co-host of the Locked On Commanders podcast. We will do that tomorrow. Thanks for making us your first listen. Check us out on YouTube as well. It's Locked On Lions, Locked On Podcast Network on a Wednesday edition. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.